In an age when the northern sea still roared with monsters and the mountains whispered with ancient magic, there was one name that every creature feared: Arvid's blade, the last dragon hunter. Long before the great kingdoms rose and fell, dragons ruled the skies of the north. Their shadows crossed frozen valleys and their flames turned forests into ash. Villages burned, armies failed, kings died, but a few warriors learned how to hunt them. They were called the dragon hunters. For centuries, these warriors traveled across the frozen world, tracking dragons through mountains, glaciers, and black forests. They studied their movements, learned their weaknesses, and forged weapons strong enough to pierce their scales. But dragons were not beasts that disappeared easily. Every dragon slain meant another hunter lost. One by one, the hunters vanished, until only one remained: Arvid's Stormblade. Arvid was not born into glory. He was born in a small fishing village on the edge of the northern sea. His father was a fisherman. His mother kept the hearth warm during the endless winters. But when Arvid was 12, a dragon came. The sky darkened. Wings like thunder covered the sun. The creature descended from the mountains with scales black as volcanic glass and eyes glowing like molten gold. In one night, the village burned. Arvid watched from the frozen shore as his home turned into smoke and fire. That night changed everything. A wounded warrior found him wandering through the snow at dawn. The man wore armor carved with ancient runes and carried a massive spear made from dragon bone. He was one of the last dragon hunters. His name was Bjorn Firebreaker. Bjorn took the boy with him. For the next 15 years, Arvid trained in the harshest lands of the north. He learned to read the sky. He learned how dragons hunted. He learned how their wings moved before they attacked. And most importantly, he learned that dragons were not mindless monsters. They were ancient, intelligent, and nearly impossible to kill. Bjorn taught him the 3 laws of dragon hunting: never fight a dragon in the open sky, never chase a dragon into its own fire, and never hunt a dragon alone. But the 3rd law would one day break. Years passed. Arvid grew into a towering warrior with ice-blue eyes and scars across his arms from countless battles. Together, he and Bjorn hunted the last dragons of the north. One in the volcanic cliffs, one beneath a frozen waterfall, one inside a cave where the walls still glowed with ancient fire. But the final hunt came during the darkest winter in living memory. A dragon larger than any before it had awakened. The people of the north called it Skarn, the world burner. Its wings could cover an entire valley. Its fire melted glaciers. Its roar echoed across the mountains like thunder. Even Bjorn knew this hunt would be different. They tracked the dragon for weeks through the frozen wilderness, across broken glaciers and through endless snowstorms, until they finally reached the mountain known as the Crown of Ice. At the peak of that mountain was the dragon's lair, but when they arrived, the storm had already begun. The wind screamed across the mountain like a living thing. Snow blinded their vision, and deep within the mountain, something massive moved. Bjorn placed a hand on Arvid's shoulder. "This may be the last hunt," he said. They climbed, step by step through the storm. The entrance to the dragoness lair was a massive cavern carved into the side of the mountain. Inside, the air was warm. Too warm. The smell of ash filled the cave, and then they heard it, a deep rumble, a breath. The dragon was awake. Skarn slowly lifted its head from the mountain of bones that surrounded it. Its eyes opened to burning suns, staring directly at them. The battle that followed became legend. Bjorn struck first, throwing his dragonbone spear directly into the creature's chest. The dragon roared. Fire exploded across the cavern. Stone melted. Ice shattered. Arvid rushed forward through the flames, his runic axe glowing with ancient magic. But Skarn was older than any dragon they had faced. Faster, stronger. With a single movement of its massive tail, it sent Bjorn crashing against the cavern wall. The old hunter did not rise again. For the first time in his life, Arvid stood alone against a dragon. The 3rd law was broken: never hunt a dragon alone. But there was no turning back. Arvid climbed across the collapsing rocks as the dragon's fire burned everything around him. He remembered Bjorn's words: dragons cannot see well in their own flames. Using the smoke and fire, Arvid ran along the dragon's wing, climbing higher and higher across its massive body. The dragon roared and twisted violently, but Arvid did not stop. At the base of the dragon's neck was the only place where the scales were thin enough to pierce. Bjorn had taught him that. With one final leap, Arvid drove his runic axe deep into the dragon's throat. The mountain shook. The dragon screamed. Fire burst across the sky as the beast crashed against the cavern floor. Then, silence. When the storm outside finally faded, the people of the north saw something they had never seen before: the body of Skarn, the world burner, lying across the frozen mountain, and beside it stood a single warrior, Arvid's blade, the last dragon hunter. But as he looked across the endless frozen world, he knew something the others did not. Dragons were ancient, older than memory, and if one had survived this long, there might still be others sleeping beneath the ice. Arvid tightened his grip on the axe and began walking north. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like and subscribe for more tales from ancient worlds.